there's different jugglers that I would consider to be the best here based on what prop category we're talking about. So say in the ball category, if we're not saying me, there would be, no, it's me. In the balls, it's me. I'm doing all 3 events. I'm doing Ironman style juggling. Balls, clubs, rings, 360s, 5 club moves, 7 ball moves, 7 ring moves. I'm doing everything. I don't think anybody else here is doing everything. So they won't lose as much as me, but they're not trying as much as me. The 360s competition is a very interesting competition. It's the first time they've had a 360s competition, and the goal is not necessarily to see who's gonna puke first, but to see who can get the most 360s in a minute. And a minute may not seem like a very long time, but when you're doing 360s, it feels a lot longer. And you call out time from the judge to find out where you are, and he tells you 20 seconds, and you feel like it's been a minute and a half already because you're just spinning around and throwing and spinning and throwing and spinning. And so how I'm gonna do, I mean, I've trained for it. It's not something that I really like to put a lot of time into. I don't train that many 360s. I just don't like getting tired. I mean, it wears you out. If you do it at the beginning of your practice, you really don't have energy to do anything else. If you do it at the end of your practice, you're already worn out. You do it in the middle, you're ruining the end of it. So, I mean, you really just have to have 360 days and just say, forget everything else, I'm just gonna spin around a lot today. So, and then there's, you know, 4 different categories for that. There's 3 clubs, and then they wanted 5 clubs too for some reason, and then 5 rings, and then 5 balls. So I'm doing all of those. So I'm spinning around for 4 minutes. The most impressive trick, I haven't really seen, because I haven't watched the video that they shot of me, but I did in the 5 club moves competition. I juggled 5 clubs, threw all of them behind my back, up in the air, quadruple flips, that's 4, and I spun around, 360, caught them all, kept juggling. Nobody's ever done that before. People have a hard enough time just throwing them behind their back and stopping. Forget about the spin, you know. So that's probably the most difficult move that's been done here so far. Yeah, Gina's got her little 360 with the club on the head, and she spins around. She's been trained like a circus monkey since she was 2 to do that. So she didn't really work for it, you know, she was bred to do that. I get a little upset when my juggling doesn't go exactly the way I plan on it going. The problem with juggling is that there are so many elements that have to be in place for the juggling to be perfect that it pretty much never goes the way you want it to go. It comes close, and you learn to accept that as your most successful attempts at it, and you get somewhat a sense of accomplishment from doing that, but you know that you didn't do it as perfectly as, in theory, it could be done. When it goes a little worse than that, it can get a little frustrating, because what you have in this combination of failure is not only the failure, but it's the pain associated with the failure, because you're constantly bashing your fingernails with the club. So not only have you basically broken or split your fingernail in half, which sounds pretty painful, and it is, and then you also fail. It's basically like you're shooting a free throw, and then you miss, and someone punches you right in the nose. You don't need the punch in the nose. You've already failed. Why do I need to get punched in the nose? Can't you just, you know, or punch me in the nose and let me get the trick?
You have a kind of trademark thing of throwing down your props at the end. How did that come about?
The way I view a juggling routine, mainly in competition, is that it's, you know, some people say, you know, it's like meditation, be one with the objects. No. It's you against them. It's a war. They're constantly trying to beat you, and you're constantly trying to keep them from doing what they want to do, is just rest their lazy ass on the ground or hit each other or do anything other than what you want them to do. So they're trying to get you, and you're trying to keep them from doing what's natural, which is just letting gravity bring them to the ground, which they've had more experience with. So I'm trying to do something unnatural, and they don't really understand it, but they're very upset about it. So when I actually do pull off a routine with some level of success, it's a triumph, and I'm done with them. You know, we're not getting along. We're basically fighting, and the fight is over, and now get out of here. I don't do all of the moves that Vova does with his 5 clubs, or 3 clubs, or 4 clubs, or 6 clubs, or his 7 club pattern, which he stole from me, because all he does is clubs. So you take the 6 hours that I practice on balls, rings, and clubs, and you just focus it on clubs. Sure, you're gonna do more stuff with clubs than somebody who splits up their time between the other prop categories. So he did do more moves than me, but I think those moves collectively were not as difficult as the one move that I did. I don't really believe that, but it sounds pretty good.
I don't think anybody believed it.
You know, there's artistic interpretations of juggling, there's comedic interpretations of juggling, all valid interpretations of juggling, but if you really don't like doing that other part, competitive juggling is really the only other alternative. So that's why I'm really happy to be competing in this competition where you're actually rewarded for the time that you put into just the juggling moves.